Hello, BookTube. I'm here to do a tag. This is the History Reading Challenge tag. I was tagged by Sean D. Standfast, and this was created by the Ghost Reader, and it's been going around a bit on BookTube. So I'll leave links to both those down below. Absolutely fascinated with Sean's answers because, of course, him and I have an awful lot in common. Personal history-wise, as far as interests and even some career stuff. So had a great time listening. Been real busy lately, as most of you know, but I had to take the time out to do this tag. So yeah, a lot of projects going on around here, but this deserves some attention. It's excellent tag. So the questions are: what first got you into history? Now, for me, like most people, it's a combination of things. I fell in love with a TV show called Jacques Cousteau's Undersea World, or something along the Undersea World of Jacques Cousteau. Read Silent World, read a lot of the books that went with that television series, and obviously it was oceanography, but they did some archaeology. I got fascinated by that. Ran into, as Sean mentions, C.W. Serum's Gods, Graves, and Scholars. But I was also interested, it's really hot here today, as you probably can tell. I also got interested in maritime history. So National Geographic magazine had a lot to do with that. Then I would find accounts of voyages, and then Peter Fruscian's Book of the Seven Seas, all sorts of things like that. And like everything else, it branches out, right? I got local history in the American Revolution, especially the French and Indian Wars. And all these things sort of work back and forth with each other. And Sean did a list of authors when he answered. That was like my old bookshelves, and I'm sure like his old bookshelves. And I just thinking, one of them, Louis Binford. I went to the University of New Mexico, which is where Louis Binford taught. I think of some of the great archaeologists I've known, and so my first thing was not archaeology. I got out of high school and went into the Coast Guard, so I pursued the nautical bent first. Really, really enjoyed it, but wanted to go to university, and settled on archaeology happily. Had some schools to choose from, but because of who the faculty was at the University of New Mexico, I went there. And then I was in that whole southwestern United States, Chaco Canyon, the Anasazi, that type of thing. That whole world. We had a wonderful archaeologist who dealt with Alaska. We had Lawrence Guy Strauss who dealt with Spain. And so I had some wonderful classes, and we always had wonderful speakers coming through. So I went into that route, and then eventually, because it's all books, I eventually became a librarian. But one of the things I did do, and Sean refers to this a little bit. He has massive Near Eastern experience, which I would love to sit down and have a beer and just talk to him about. I was in Russia, where I studied lithic use-wear analysis under Madame Karabkova and V.M. Masson, two archaeologists in the Soviet Union, which is what it was then. And it wasn't when I left, so it tells you what year I was there. And, of course, that work came out of S.A. Semenov, the famous lithic use-wear specialist in Russia, I think in the 1930s. Love to find his books in Russian or English. Anyway, so it's all a muddle a bit. My history, I've always loved history. And one person, like Sean's list of authors, was I would have made it myself. It was so perfect. And of course, he would have added many, many more if he'd had time. And one I'll throw in that ties into my interest in American history is Ivor Noel Hume. This is a book I really, really, really captured my imagination, and that's historical archaeology, as we call it in the United States. And this is about a plantation in Virginia. So yeah, great fun. Always loved that stuff. The Jacques Cousteau. It was an adventure for me, and made reading an adventure. So yeah, that's how I'd answer that. What is your favorite history book author? My favorite author, there's so many, as everybody's going to say, but to answer the question, it's probably still Samuel Eliot Morison. He wrote about the sea and knew about the sea. Peg has his large World War II history set, which I'm still jealous of. But he wrote a lot about, the voyages of discovery of and the Portuguese sailors, and John Paul Jones, the opening up to trade in Japan. He was a fascinating character. He lived not too far from here. He lived in Boston, and he vacationed a lot up in Mount Desert Island and Maine. So yeah, I've always been fascinated by him, and I like his writing style, and the fact that he hits subject matter that I like doesn't hurt at all, right? So what is your most anticipated history book you have not read yet? I have not read this, and I just don't have the time to read it now. The Boundless Sea. I'm going to get to this. Its reputation is already quite impressive, and I have dipped into it a little bit. Know I really want to get into it, and maybe this winter when things settle down, I'll get a chance. So I'm looking for that. I'm looking forward to that. So let me see here where we're at. Number 4. What is your favorite time period and why? And what book do you want to read? Have read about it. Mine isn't a time period. I guess some people say, well, it seems like your Napoleonic Wars at sea. That's not quite true. I like that a real lot, but either side of that too. So I like the tales of exploration. I like all that sort of thing. So right now, I'm looking forward to reading Endeavour. The Ship That Changed the World, Peter Moore. It's about the ship Endeavour that Captain Cook used in his voyages. Really into navigation, chart making, charts, all that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to this. Actually, I think Steve gave me this book about a year and a half ago. He probably thinks I've already read it. I'm sorry, Steve, I'm a little behind the 8 ball here. So, what time period would you like to learn more about, and what book do you want to read or have read about it? This is under the influence of Jason Harrigan at Byways and Book Lab. Now, he had me read, what I got it right here, Dan Jones, The Templars. He talked about it. I read it, very, very, very much liked it, and I've seen him talk about another book. Found a copy the other day. You see it in my most recent book haul if you watch that. And that's this, and I've already started on it, Christopher Tyerman's God's War, History of the Crusades. I'm just into the background section already. I'm learning a ton. So I'm going to learn a lot, and I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you, Jason. What is your favorite person in history? What book do you want to read or have read about it? Now, I don't know favorite, because you can be fascinated by somebody who's totally evil, right? You can be fascinated by a character in history who's just a total jerk and you would never want to meet them personally. You can be fascinated by somebody who's saintly, I guess. Favorite, the person I have been the most interested in for a while. And here you have Life at Easton Press, and you can't see it over here, but you have shelves, and there are shelves more you could have, and that's Winston Churchill. He just fascinates me, and some of it's because of where he was, who he knew, and what the world was going through at the time. So I've had an interest in Churchill since I was a young person. I would read a lot about World War II because those books were available. That generation was still very much around, and there were a lot of books available, and still are. It's an industry. What history topic would you like to see more fiction, non-fiction books about? Topic-wise, I'm a big proponent of an American travel writer, archaeologist, and business person, and that's John Lloyd Stephens. He traveled throughout Europe at an interesting time, northern part of Africa, Egypt, all that. He brought back interest and knowledge about the Mayans early on, and he was just a brilliant travel writer. I've always wondered why Library of America doesn't have his collected works. I mean, you can get them. I think Cosimo Publishers has them in print. You do see his stuff on the Mayans, but it's not the only thing he did. And it's been a long time since there was a decent biography of him. The sources are a little scarce due to accident and fire and all that. But I think somebody who really knew what they could do, could do a more rounded picture of him than just the Mayan explorer guy. So, love to see somebody do that. Who knows? Maybe they will. What non-book resources do you enjoy when learning about history? So when I was younger, and I heard Sean talk about more recent documentaries, and I think he knows way more about them than I do because I don't watch that many. When I was younger, I would watch things like Kenneth Clark's Civilization. So I know Simon Schama did that thing on the history of Britain. I did watch that. I tried to watch the remake of Civilization. Yeah, I didn't get through much of that. So, documentaries, like I say, I used to watch Jacques Cousteau, and that was a TV show. There was a lot of them. I watched that, I always got a kick out. I really liked it. It was Time Team, I think, out of the British Isles. So I like documentaries. I read a lot of not as many as I used to, but I read a lot of magazines, the National Geographic, Smithsonian. I get, oh my God, I can't even think of them all. There's the magazine, BBC does one in history. So whenever I randomly pick those up, I don't have heavy subscriptions into any one area, but I do like the magazines. And then, of course, the teaching company, right? Learning company, teaching, I think it's a teaching company where you get the videos on the topic and you'll watch it. And I've watched quite a few of those. I get them and then I donate them to my library. So those can be excellent. They're taught by, professors, and then you just take a course. So it's great fun. And then favorite history quote or fun fact. I'm terrible at quotes. Funny stories. Again, I like a lot of the Winston Churchill stories. Some of them are a little ludicrous. Yeah, I don't have anything in particular on that. The stray anecdote here and there might make me chuckle, and then 2 weeks later I forgot what it was. So they say, shout out a booktuber you know who enjoys or who also reads history. I don't have any idea who's done this, but I have been watching off and on Motley Reads, and I'm sure he would have a wonderful perspective on some of this stuff. So that's who I'm shouting out. Hopefully this didn't run on too long, and I've got to get back to work. So thank you, BookTube.